What is the connection between retrospective and cocoa head in Hawaii? I'll answer that in a few minutes. But first, let me bring up another interesting topic, that being the retrospective. We both know that retrospectives is very important event for the Scrum teams. There are many dimensions and aspects to retrospective, such as what is retrospective? Why do it? The pitfalls if you don't do it. How do we do it? How do we make it fun? How do we get everyone engaged? What are the best practices? And many, many more aspects to retrospective. In this series, we will look into these different aspects, different dimensions of retrospective one by one. The traditional definition of retrospective for an agile team, for a scrum team to be specific, would be that this is some event that they are doing at the end of every sprint. So typically we expect the Scrum team to end the sprint with the sprint retrospective. The Scrum guide does not mention as to when you should do it, but as an enterprise coach, as a team coach, when I work with the teams, I recommend that this should be the last event for that sprint. They should, in fact, do it right after the sprint review. That is my suggestion. This is where they are going to talk about what worked and what did not work. And we want them to hear from the stakeholders through that review and then bring that to the retrospective as well. So again, this should be the last event in the sprint for that Scrum team. The other way to look at it is this is one of the feedback loops built into the Scrum framework. There are many feedback loops. Retrospective is one of the feedback loop. I want to refer to the Deming's wheel, or what is often referred to as PDCA cycle also. So this is one of the steps in that PDCA cycle. The plan, do, check, act. They are checking as
Correct.
what worked, what did not work, identifying what needs to be done to improve certain areas. What areas to improve on, that is decided by the team. What action items to do, that is decided by the team. The other piece I want to bring up is in agile mindset. When we talk about the mindset, we want the mindset of continuous learning. We want the mindset of continuous learning and continuous improvement. So again, retrospective is an implementation of that. As the teams do the sprints, they are learning and putting those learnings back into the loop to identify the areas of improvement and actually work on those improvements. And to do this, obviously, we want the entire team to be there. You cannot do a sprint retrospective with just few people from the team. So definitely bring entire team in this event. That was great baseline understanding for our viewers as to what retrospective is. Let's talk about the benefits. Again, we are asking the teams to do the retrospective every sprint. So they are obviously going to ask us to, hey, why should we bother doing this every 2 weeks if our sprint is 2 weeks?
Whether we're making big leaps in process improvement or continuous improvement, we're building that team. And with new teams, it's really critical to have as much face-to-face time as possible. There's always going to be drama within that team. We're humans, so there's going to be drama. You know, somebody didn't do this, somebody did do this. We're looking at heroes, but those are the things that we want to come out during a retrospective. We want people to say, I start off with saying, this is what I did well. This is what I'm particularly proud of. And then we say, okay, what did we do well? Yeah, we did integration really well, but maybe the requirements, the user stories weren't well defined. So we kind of make note of that. But we want to make sure that everybody's got a voice. And again, it's about building that cohesive team. So that's one of the biggest benefits right there is the ongoing team engagement. And when we're talking about team, we're not just talking about IT, we're talking about the business as well. So, we're getting, the business is going to be new to our process. So the business is actually speaking as well as the product owner possibly, so we've got that whole paradigm shift of, oh, actually, we're not just considering IT. We've got product owner. We've actually got the business. What's this business stuff all about? We know what they want, and that's what we're finding out. No, IT doesn't know what business wants. The business knows what the business wants, and they're trying to give small windows of what their vision is to that team, and then we collectively start building that relationship, building on those comments that we make during a retrospective.
As I was saying earlier, retrospective is a forum where they are going to look back to the sprint that they completed. So this is, in a way, you can say this is introspection. You're looking into yourself as a team, as a group, right? As to what worked, what did not work. So oftentimes this meeting or this forum or this event, whatever you want to call it, often becomes their forum for letting this team out. As in, they may be frustrated. They sometimes it becomes a bitching session. And if I'm a scrum master, to some extent, I will let that happen, because this is, again, you are letting them uh, get that steam out, the frustration and all that. With that said, the retrospective should not become just a bitching session also, right? So there's that fine line that you are walking as a scrum master as you facilitate this retrospective. The other benefit, I say, kind of a side benefit, if you want to call it, is that this event also helps the team in gelling together as one unit. Because again, you are going to do this again and again, and as we said, this is a safe environment, so people will slowly start opening up and they will start trusting. So it eventually helps us in creating that trusting environment, the psychological safety that we are talking about, gelling together as one unit. This is where actually the scrum teams can practice some of the scrum values also. Values such as openness, for example, being open, respectful, being respectful to other team members.
But we need to keep the bigger agile vision in mind when we're talking about agile and what it brings to the table, which is empowering teams and exploration. So with each sprint, ideally, we're also experimenting. So not any one retrospective is the same, because the experimentation for that iteration is different. So we're providing, again, it's like waiting to exhale. The team's kind of very rigid, and then as we become more and more comfortable with each other, we're taking deep breaths, we can speak freely with the team, we're doing experimentation, we're seeing the business value that we're pushing out the other end, we're seeing the value in our experimentation, and the collaboration and the trust that we're building as a team, as a high performing team.
Think of this as experiments. So from these experiments, these sprints, the teams are learning and putting that learning back into the process, into the framework, right? So this is
Right.
this is where we are looking for those small incremental improvements. We are not looking for big bang improvements. We are looking for the small incremental improvements. Sprint retrospective also helps in the team taking the collective ownership and accountability of the product that they are building.